going to go down the path here and let everyone introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about the role they play in the world. So let's start with you, Dane.
Hi. Thank you, Lori.
Oh, wait, let's turn you on.
Giving me a dead mic.
I mean, just the mic part, not you. Okay, go ahead. Okay, good.
Hi, folks. My name is Dane. How are you today? Very, very nice to be here. Thank you very much, Lori, for inviting me. I really appreciate you involving me in these things. I'm a producer, and I create content for film and television. I founded an AI company because there's a drought of work in my profession right now, and I'm on my third project. This is the year anniversary. It was my birthday last year. I just decided to start taking some courses, and I have about 200 credits delivering 10 polls for film and television, and I built a career on finding emergent technology. I'm not an insider. I didn't graduate from film school. I'm from a suburb of Toronto, Canada. I don't know anyone. I'm not connected. I go out into the field and find technology and then field test it, develop it, fund it, and bring it into the mainstream. Rinse, repeat. And I'm having the time of my life, and I think we're about to enter a second golden era for Hollywood.
Excellent. And Dane, the other role that you're playing in life is really Infinity Festival. Do you want to just sum that up?
Which is the reason we're here and the founding core of all of this. And Mark and Adam founded this festival based on the idea that, in the way that I met them, I was a producer. I had to take my content to Salt Lake City or Cannes or London to sell it, to find a market. We create it all here. There's a transactional apparatus here. Why don't we have such a facility in Los Angeles? And through various iterations, it generally became what it is today, the Infinity Festival, which is Silicon Beach meets Hollywood. We have all the resource we need here in spades, and we're entering year 7. I'm taking care of the Monolith Awards, and what I did was take the core professions that will never be rewarded from traditional societies and guilds, Visual Effects Society, Producers Guild. Because of the nature of technology, it progresses at a rate more quickly than these guilds can sort of categorize it and come up with a nameplate and brand it. There's also other legacy issues. So it started with 3 pillars: Virtual Art Department, VAD, real-time, and pre-visualization, which sound new if you're not an M&E, but the truth is I know people in their 50s that are going to retire. I know people that are entering this field, and they'll go without an award. So it started with those 3, and it's expanded into something insane. There's only a few tickets left. You should definitely head over there, and I strongly recommend Friday night. There's going to be a live world release of a full AI-created piece for the event, but also all the luminaries. Everyone said yes to me. Really heavily networked. All the big people said yes because they're not busy right now, and they're all going to be presenting their best work and judging it. It's going to be a great evening. Festival itself is the best networking opportunity in Los Angeles, in my opinion.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And let's go over to Kimberly. Oh, yeah. Can you pass the mic? Sorry. Kimberly is representing HP as a sponsor of Infinity, but also HP as a company is one of the power brokers, I think, right now in what's happening in Hollywood. So, Kimberly, tell us what you do.
So I feel like we're all friends now. So
and everyone has to Elvis the mic a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. So my name's Kim Sanderson, and I work on a lot of entertainment accounts for HP. Just the really heavy workload accounts from anywhere. I do a specialty in gaming and, shockingly enough, rockets. So I work on all of the aerospace accounts, the gaming accounts, and then a lot of traditional media and entertainment accounts.
Great. All right, great. Well, and we're going to dig in deep to what you're doing there. Let's go over to Jason, who's at a company I think I've heard of called NVIDIA. And
it's not a startup. Yeah.
Tell
Feels like a startup every day.
Tell us what you're doing.
So I am a Jason Schugardt solutions architect for media entertainment. I also cover ProViz, meaning the graphics cards. So on a day-to-day, I connect with the customers and reach in to connect them with the smart folks inside of NVIDIA or other partners to help solve their problems and see them through to success. I come from a visual effects background, so I spent 25 years in the industry as a visual effects supervisor, being on set, starting from small shops to large shops, and saw, for me, my awareness of Gen AI started around 2017, 2018, where the tools got better and better and better, and I joined NVIDIA just about 2 years ago.
Excellent. And Scott, you kind of introduced yourself before, but let's hear a little bit more.
Yeah, hey, Scott Connolly, head of media technology. I think you've all heard everything from me for now, but we can come back.
Okay. And Scott, but just say your background, though, because
Sure,
I don't know if everyone knows your background.
So I ran, previous to joining Verizon, I ran an emerging technology company called the Astronauts Guild that I founded in 2009. And so I've been in the media and entertainment space actually about 25 years now, always involved in new tech, in emerging technologies. Spent a long time chasing trends, right? Understanding trends, knowing where the technology was going to come through. I've done always in the space of the most emerging tech, whether that be 3D, VR, and then we got into super resolution for a long time. So I did actually a ton of the development of the Sphere in Vegas from 16 to 19. I built all the large camera arrays to capture all the footage for that when we were originally introducing that, and we built up and eventually ended up joining Verizon in 21.
Excellent. All right, so I want to dig a little deeper into what the role that each of you have in this pipeline that is now media and entertainment. It's all about technology in many ways, but of course, storytelling at its key. But let's talk about NVIDIA first, Jason, because honestly, NVIDIA is kind of the pretty girl at the party right now for media and entertainment.
You say that to all the panelists.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious. I, of course, years ago knew NVIDIA as the gaming card company. Like, not that I was a gamer, but that was how I knew of NVIDIA. So how did you go from that to being, GPU everything? Jensen's like a superhero right now. I mean, it's
transforming into an AI company.
Transforming into an AI company. Yeah, give us just a sense of how that happened.
So, I'd say in the same way, most people know NVIDIA as a graphics card company. I play games, so if you play video games, you're most likely will know about NVIDIA. It actually, people weren't really aware, a lot of people weren't aware of NVIDIA until just a few years ago, when this AI boom happened, but it's actually been a very long process for NVIDIA. It's something that started for them, for us, back in 2012. Back in 2012, and before that, really, it was CUDA, right? So 2006 was CUDA, which was a acceleration libraries you can run that will accelerate math processes, right? And it wasn't until Alex Shestevsky, Ilya Sutskever, you might know that name, and Jeffrey Hinton, who was overseeing the project, and he's the godfather of AI. Every year there's a contest in that time for ImageNet to be able to detect if there was a cat, and they did a couple acceleration things, so some innovative things using GPUs, where it was parallel processing across multiple GPUs to be able to run a CNN. And what that meant is not one network can be run over multiple GPUs. And now you can see where that expands to all the way, I think it was last month or the month before, Colossus was born. Elon Musk's huge 10,000 GPU, 100,000 GPU render farm. They have, and we stood that up in 19 days. So that's, it's a massive farm, be able to train across all of those GPUs on the world's data inside those GPUs to make these large language models. And for people like me that aren't programmers, the way that I'm wrapping my head around it is we went from a CPU world to a GPU world. So, right. So that's for average normal people. Not normal. I'm not saying you're not normal. No, but I mean, for regular people now, the question is, what kind of GPUs? Yeah. So CPUs were general processors. So they would handle, for the longest time, they handle all the processes on a computer. For anything that was coming through, it would be handled by a CPU. GPU is a very special processor that handles graphics. That was in 1993 when Jensen's first product, right, was to accelerate graphics, and we are now extensively a acceleration company through and through. So not only do we accelerate graphics, we focus on workflows. And so if we're accelerating graphics as well as accelerating processing of tokens, right, for LLMs. So, and we want to accelerate any type of workload that you have, data processing and all that. So, yes.
Part of everything. All right, so let's talk about HP for a second, Kimberly, because how many of you have an HP product in your house, maybe, or something? And so we think of them as like, maybe it's your printer, maybe it is your computer, but there's so much going on with HP that's bigger than any of us have thought about, because you really are a power player in this pipeline. So can you tell us how you're playing in AI and, integrating what NVIDIA is doing?
Yeah, so actually, HP has been putting out AI workstations for the last 10 years. And we have been working with NVIDIA and partnering. So when you look at AI on the GPU, we've been doing that for 10 years. AI recently has been kind of redefined ever since the NPU. So when you talk about ChatGPT, you talk about just all of it, it's really coming forward where everyone knows it now, but that's on the NPU side. So how HP is responding to it is we're actually having to build machines that are faster, more memory, they're better, there's more power, and we're partnering with NVIDIA, for instance, to make all these things happen.
And so you're literally helping your clients get on the AI path, right? In many ways.
Yeah, no, our clients have been on the AI path, but there's such an increase in it. A lot of the software has always been done for AI generally on these workstations. And we are coming out with new products for the NPU side, but the GPU side is just getting bigger and stronger.
It's crazy how powerful these machines are. So I want to go back to you, Scott, because you and I have had this conversation a few times, and you guys may feel this way. You may feel exactly the same way. There's a tension right now between the creatives, the storytellers, and the technologists, right? Now, in our Infinity Festival is actually born off of that concept. Let's bring story and tech together. And I know you and I have talked about this. Like you experienced this. So can you share a little bit about your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really interesting, and being through this, I kind of feel like I'm going through this for the second time. So I started in this industry, in 1999, I guess it was, early 2000, was really the start of beginning to be a young filmmaker. And around that same time was the introduction of the first 24p camera. I don't know if anybody else remembers the DVX 100, but it was this revolutionary kind of space where, and I still have mine, and I got the very first one in California. I stocked the Panasonic rep and got mine first, right? But because it was this massive revolution in the creative capability, right? But everybody else in the industry was totally fearful of this. It was amazing to talk to folks that had been in the industry for a long time, because they were scared because they couldn't, normally a camera would cost $150,000, $200,000. It was something you rented. It was something that you saved up for. Even at that time too, DaVinci Resolve was something that you spent thousands of dollars to rent, and you'd go to a special room and use it, and then it became free. But out of that change and that fear and everything that there was this magnificent digital revolution. And because the creator became empowered. And I really see that now, most interestingly here with AI, right? There's never been a time where the creative has more power than they do now. Now, for me, coming through the industry, I was one that wanted to be a producer in the beginning, but really decided that I was going to produce, but also learn all the other tools on the set. I think that those are the areas that we're going to start to see new tools come in to help creators' content. But I find it really interesting that a director can now sit down at a keyboard and create an entire feature film entirely out of their mind from just their vision. And I'll be really interested to see, I always say it's a 12-year-old's going to produce the next AI feature soon, right? And how amazing that will be just to see something purely artistic and creative from that space.
Just because we are here at the lab, and one of the big stories here is private 5G, do you think that storytellers are going to come up to you and say, I want to learn how private 5G is going to help me make my movie. I mean, is it going to finally get to the point where the storyteller is going to ask you the tech stuff?
So from Verizon's perspective, where we think that we can fit within this space is really building tools within that. Inherently, when we start to do even the demo that you saw me build next door, is a really great example. If you were to shoot a movie on content created on a public cloud, for the most part, you're training the next model of that AI, right? And that, especially for the enterprise, for the studios, we believe that causes some problems within that idea, especially if you were to spend every day for several months, generating new AI. We could train, a model that's the best to build your exact, IP that you've been building on it. And then, a young content creator could get access to that same model and build a fan film, right? So what we can offer with the private networks, especially within that space, is the real capability to bring these models and port them over into a new ecosystem that can be available for the creator to use in an entirely private manner. And we're looking, investigating how we might be able to make these models more affordable for creators, how we might be able to make them available on an as-a-service model, so that you can use them to create content for a short amount of time and keep the costs lower, and also meaning that they come out to the event or the set or in a way that is ready to just be powered on, to be used in this way, and then button it up and send it back when you're done with it. And to that point, the model that you've trained, hopefully we can repackage that up so that you can deploy it again for your sequel.
So in that sense, you're telling the creator, here's the case study, and so they'll be excited to learn it because it's going to help them do their thing. So Dane, let's pop over to you.
Yes.
And I'll give you the mic. Or here comes Mike. So one of the things we were talking about, all the entries for the Infinity Festival, because it's this wonderful moment in time for you where you're really seeing everything. And I said to you, well, is there a lot of AI? And so you sort of gave me the perspective of what you've seen with all these entries. Can you share that with everybody? Because I think it's a nice microcosm of what's going on out there.
It is. It's a really nice sign of what's happening in the community. I mean, the festival hasn't been going long enough that it's a household name. So in reaching out to different pockets around the globe, and I impaneled 22 of the smartest people that I know, and purposely went to the head of music strategy at Paramount, who got Florence and the Machine to record a No Doubt track and got Yellow Jack's greenlit. I want to know what she thinks. And then ultimately took an expert in each field to award the final prize. And we're dedicating 2 prizes to AI, still splitting tech and art. Although that was a vote that I lost. I don't distinguish between the two any longer. I did for a long time. I think you need equal parts to succeed today, and I don't think it's as challenging as most people believe. But I really implore everyone to attend the festival, watch us online, whatever your involvement may be. Talk to Lori and I, because I think we're going to have some of the pioneers and some of the voices that we're going to be hearing more and more from. We put a lot of effort into curating this show.
And one of the things you told me was that not everything that came to you was like titled AI blah blah,
right? But
that AI touched something.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about. So I just want to clear the air on 2 subjects, like the anti-AI, AI. You mentioned tech and someone else being opposed to them. I forget who.
Right, you can try.
Yeah, I think that if you pull a lens back, what you look at is, let's look at the Avengers Endgame, where Josh Brolin's performance inhabited a digital character that was empowered by artificial intelligence, and we all went gaga, and the fanboys couldn't say enough good about it. And then we had Jungle Book, where Christopher Walken, who looks like a toothpick, is being represented as an orangutan, and you can tell it's Christopher Walken. That's artificial intelligence, which, by the way, has been used to create imagery that we've been paying for since the 50s. So there's nothing new here. It's progression. We were cheering for it. And then we had 3 cataclysmic events. One was the complete collapse of the business model of the 6 studios that were primarily driving the economy, because no one went to the cinema anymore. I'm not going to spend an hour going down the road of why it's. If you email me, I'll send you documents to prove it. It happened. That money's gone. And when your entire enterprise is choked, there's a reaction. DVDs collapse, physical media. And now you look at a world a very short time later where long form, going to the arc light at 8 o'clock and parking is just not even available. It's like a novelty. So where's the audience? It's the same inflection point we had in 1969, which ushered in Coppola, Scorsese, and not that the studios wanted to give money to Michael Cimino to make Heaven's Gate. They had to, because they were making Hello Dolly for millions, and no one showed up. They're all at this movie about motorcycles shot in the Venice Canal. It's called Easy Rider. So they have to empower creatives. And whoever just said that creatives have never been in a more powerful position, I 100% agree with. There's being a slingshot being pulled back, and a lot of people are just looking at the rubber band. We're about to launch. And the other factor that happened was COVID. I happened to be in a C-suite position at a visualization company and had just figured out how we were going to lose money on The Mandalorian so that we could get that contract. And the world beat a path to our door because that was the only way that you could create content for a little while. I mean, the mayor came on a television set and told us all to go home. I thought that was it. But it wasn't. It was just the beginning. And it was followed by the biggest surge in demand ever and led into the drought we're in today. And what happened in that period is everyone was sequestered at home, and they got hooked on Rings of Power and WandaVision and very high quality. And there's only so much I can divulge, but C-suite means I'm looking at the money. And I know what they spent to make the features, and I know what they made, and I know what they spent to create streaming content that there's no way you're going to get back at $9 a piece or on a free app that comes along with your cell phone. There was just no return on investment. So why is the largest entertainment company doing that? They're buying loyalty. They're building a marketplace. They're buying your loyalty. And now that the dust has settled and the labor disputes are at least on ice for the time being, and we're ready to go back to work, the reason the big players aren't greenlighting properties, and the reason Lionsgate is letting Runway let their bots run through the library and create content, and the reason there's so many things happening that haven't broken to market yet that are going to lead the next wave is because they know something. They know there's no way they can squeeze a return on investment out of the market. They proved it the last 3 years. They put out the best content, got the giant market share. They've looked at their numbers and yelled at their producers, and they can only get the cost per minute so low. What does that turn into? The negative economy, the negative market pickup economy, which means if I go out and film a puppet show for $10 and walk it into the studio, they have an empty shelf. I have a much bigger chance of getting them to distribute it. And then I have a much bigger chance of legacy. There's nothing worse for a producer than getting your project into that room where there's 8 people who have never made a film telling you what you're doing wrong. And then people asking you, why didn't that work out? Well, it was set up to fail.
All right, bring us home.
I'm bringing it home very quickly, trust me. So if you're pitching today, you're pitching to someone who has an empty shelf. You're pitching to someone who can't possibly take that position. And when you go to market, you're not competing with them because the shelves are bare. So you're going to get an outsized response, which triggers investment. So what I'm doing right now and what I implore everyone to do is prepare for that because it's coming very soon.
Creator. And I want to go back to you guys who have the tools that are allowing creators to make the stuff that we're setting up for. So Kimberly, we talked a little bit about this. Do you mind passing the mic? And don't give it back to him until I tell you it's okay. No, but thank you for setting that up for us because it does set up the creator discussion. How are you empowering your clients? Like, are they asking, give us something for AI? Like, what's that thing happening right now?
So when you look at media and entertainment, you're looking at people aren't competing with movies against another movie. You're competing how people spend their time. Right? So whether it's gaming, whether it's my 70-year-old mom playing Candy Crush, we have a lot of gamers now. We have a lot of ways, how do people spend their time? And what we're finding with AI and a lot of my customers and a lot of big companies is they are using AI because people have, each generation, they have a slower attention span. It's shorter. TikToks are like 15 seconds and they move on to the next. So everybody wants quick, fast content. And with that, to stay on top, all of our customers, all of our storytellers, our media and entertainment people have to push out content faster. They have to make it more interesting. And that's where you do lean on AI. Because if you do that, what you're doing is you're getting content out faster, quicker, better. And it's really amazing because they're taking those tasks the basic B stuff they don't want to do, right? And they're really focusing on the heart of the game or the heart of the movie. And they can spend their time being creators, doing the stuff they want to do, that human connection, and basically pushing out a better product. So that's what we're seeing.
So are the clients saying to you, give us the strongest, most powerful thing ever kind of thing? Or
You'd be shocked the kind of configs we've come out with, the demand. We have demands for 8 terabyte. We have demands for 8 terabytes for a workstation. You're seeing designers wanting 100 threads per minute. Whoever thought that would be the case? And they're using it, and then they're asking for more. So
it's crazy. So let's pop over to Jason, because you guys have this Inception program, which speaks to also how you guys are sort of open to working with everyone. Can you tell this crowd about the Inception program? Because we have startups here, so I think that'll be exciting.
I think one of my favorite aspects of working in NVIDIA is in part to the Inception program, because we get to see. It's a program we're sitting on the top of a hill, and we're seeing into the valley of all these new startups that are coming in to fruition. So any company that's less than 10 years old can join up join up to the Inception program, and right off the bat you'll get some discounted graphics cards, you'll get some cloud credits, and we reach out to you, see how you're doing, see how we can help. If it's something we really want to get involved in, we'll point you to the right folks inside. If it's something we already see you can work better with another partner, we'll put you together there. So, thinking back into the AlexNet moment, where we're catching an innovation so early when it's just a very, very small team of 5 or 10 people, and then we're able to look at that and say, that is the future. That's what we're going to do. That's where I think we get to see literally 5 or 10 years into the future that nobody else gets to see. It's pretty amazing.
That's so cool. So check it out.
Inception program.
Inception program. And then the cool thing about your site for HP is you can literally go on there and configure, like a regular person can configure this insanely powerful machine. So it really is bringing it all to the creator. Do we have questions from the crowd? Questions? Anybody? Okay, yeah, over here. All right. And one question I want to ask while I'm back here is, how can Hollywood better support what you guys are all looking at, thinking about doing? Like, just anyone who wants to answer that question. Yeah.
I could jump in. I've got the mic. But So a couple things where I think to the power of HP, right? If you're familiar with Flame, real-time compositing, one of the biggest workstations that hosted that application was the Z8. Now the Z8 Fury. This is a beast. And you would put the most expensive beast of machine for that software to make it run fast. Why? Because you had 4 clients sitting on the back couch, and you're working in real time, as quick as you could, to get the creative answers out. Right then and there, you had all the creative choices happening in the room, and you need to get them out onto the screen as quickly as possible. I believe that's the same for generative AI, where you're going to want to put that machine in an artist's hands to remove all friction for the creativity. You're going to speed that. You're going to accelerate all of that up. And I think that's where there's magic that happens, where it's not just, I told the AI what to do and it did it. There's a lot of back and forth. You're having conversations where you're going, I didn't think about it that way. I'm going to try this. And it's not like where Gen AI is right now, in my opinion. We're still far away from typing, put me into the next Marvel movie with, so-and-so. So, I'm not saying for a small studio or a small indie production who couldn't afford hiring Weta to make a shot of a cat playing a piano on a moon, whatever, right? So you can actually generate that. That's something that's putting that creativity into their hands, and they can get that done. But I think where we're at is right now it's hard to control, and I think that control is coming. But right now we're a few years away from seeing that through. I think this is going to accelerate artists. It's going to make open up new possibilities to small creative people that want to get that done. I think it's an amazing time to be an independent artist at this point.
Anybody else want to answer?
Oh, it's okay.
What can Hollywood? How can we help Hollywood?
I think that a lot of corporate accounts are actually having mandates to do AI. And I think that to help Hollywood is don't be scared. There's going to be watermarks put in place, for instance, in content. There's going to be watermarks placed in cameras, in the lenses. So there's a lot of things to do to protect your content. And I think that there needs to be more of an embrace of it. It's not as scary as people think. This isn't like a Steven Spielberg movie where he freaked us all out. He did a really good job because everyone's freaked out. But in general, it's something you should embrace. When you look at artists, they used to have a pencil and paper, and that's how they did art. And then compute came. And look how great, and look how many things we've accomplished since then. The art's gone through the roof. We're doing so many better things. And if you trust AI, you use AI, you're going to have that same experience, and it's going to be better. And it's really going to help all the artists. So when you say that this is the best time to be an artist, it truly is. And supporting them. And for all the money people, give them the money they need to get the job done.
The money guy is right there because I remember. But Scott, did you have some thoughts about, getting Hollywood engaged?
Sure. I mean, I think for us, as we continue to build, we're definitely looking at Hollywood to help us make sure that we build in the way that helps the creator, right? And whether that's the small creator or the large creator, I think for us, what we're continuing to do is outreach and see how we can, empower artists in all different ways with our technology. So,
great. Dane, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that it's already happening to some degree. And the point I was trying to make, and I'm going to get to it now, is that we created
Dear
this
Lord.
fear that had nothing to do with Hollywood, and we're pinning it on AI because it's a complex subject. But let me make it very simple for you. I was talking to Leonard Jenkins. He's the chairman of the SMTPE. I'm a Leonard fan, too. I'll give props to him as well. And I asked him, Leonard, how can we possibly know if what I'm working with as a producer isn't stolen, isn't someone else's property, shouldn't be licensed, I shouldn't be asking for permission? And he proceeded to explain it to me and emailed it to me. So once we can legally define what the ethical source material is, the field's wide open. So again, these things are already happening. It will take a success and a breakthrough, but that ground is already being laid as well. I think we're ready for, or we're preparing ourselves for a wave of demand.
Great.
So I think everyone up here has an immense amount of experience. It's just incredible to see, everyone with all of their background. And I guess my question more so is the industry is super fragmented. The people are fragmented. It's a massive ecosystem of film, TV, music, internet, advertising, gaming. Over 500 million people are in the industry, and the supply chain is also fragmented. With your background and your experience, how do you think AI would be able to streamline the fragmented workforce and the supply chain of the industry?
The first problem you have when everyone in this room can make a film is, I'm sorry, most of them won't be good. And there has to be a gate, right? There has to be a way to go through that data. We're in a world now where everyone on the planet can create content. And as you just pointed out, we don't know where the audience is. If only we had a supercomputer that could help us with that. I mean, it just seems obvious to me where the initial application is. I just finished a project for Apple, an episodic 8-part series for a venerable director, his first time using episodic and delivering to a box instead of a studio. And I did everything in AI, everything non-generative, all of the production tasks, one-man band. I challenged myself to do it, and it worked. So I've proven now that were I seeking that work, I could do 4 of those very well. So you just multiply it, and again, it's just a matter of figuring out where the puck is going and making sure you're there.
Question? Can you pass them on?
I think to the same point, actually, I think just AI is going to make the creator's world smaller, right? I think the things that we're starting to see and be able to focus on is making the processes easier. right? I've been a workflow expert really in this industry for a long time, right? In producing really complicated types of content. And the things that most interesting is that most of the problems are caused by lack of good communication. Really, it's the human error that causes the budget overages, right? And as we start to, I don't think that the process of creating content is ever going to fully change. Yeah, we might have some content, as I said before, which is just a one-man band. But we also means that we might be able to create a lot more content with fewer people because the processes are better, which means that we can be more efficient in the way that we create and actually be more true to our vision.
Great. Did you want to add anything, Jason?
Just to also underline that point, I think, when we have tools, and I think the tools are important, right? Where we have tools that accelerate those artist workflows, you're gonna remove that friction. You're gonna be able to accelerate those ideas, and I'm excited to see what comes out of that. There's a bit of a flywheel action that will, when somebody sees a piece of work, then they launch off that, and you have this back and forth, inspiring creativity between groups. I'm excited when we have new innovations coming from that. I don't think it's going to be a regurgitation machine. People are worried about having generative AI just chew itself up, generate data that gets then consumed by the generative models. So I'm looking forward to that next innovation that's going to come out of this, and see where that takes us.
Exciting. Did you have a question?
Oh, thank you. Actually, I just had a quick question, follow-up to what you had said about sort of privatizing some of these networks as an overlay into the public space. You made some inferences to providing model creation services and compute. So is Verizon getting into that space as well, not just providing?
No.
Okay.
So we won't ever be very clearly, we won't ever be we will be the facilitator, right? So we're in the space of making the tools available so that we can then partner or create ecosystems for the other companies who can focus better on that space. So we can start to look at, just most immediately, we're deploying industry standard equipment on top of our networks. So things that are simply now that are done with small cell Wi-Fi, right? We can make that better. Very simply, like we have different bands of licensed cellular systems that we own, right? And from there, we can deploy different technologies on those bands. The same way that we have improved communications for the NFL. The reason why that worked so well is because we're deploying a cellular band at the stadiums, and then there's secure communications for each team, meaning that there's no fear of having any communication leak about what's going on there. But also, the cellular technology itself does handoff really well, right? So when they're moving around, there's no fear that you're going to lose communication by moving from one cell to the next. We'll continue to push forward in that space with individual industry standard equipment on top of our networks, and then from there exploring, beyond where we can get into the AI space and deploy the great tools that are out there on the wider internet, and how we can then bring them into a smaller bubble, which would be more of an intranet, meaning giving all the capabilities of broader connectivity without actually having to be connected. You could still shoot a car commercial in the desert and have all the communication capabilities that you need, as if you had fantastic connectivity.
With an HP workstation powered by.
I was going to say something very similar to that. NVIDIA loves our partners. So the way we work, right? So we are only 30,000 people as a company, but we're not that big. So we rely on our partners, HP, Verizon. So we have a technology stack that most people can't buy off the truck. We wind up having more developers, software developers, than hardware developers. So if you want to build a program, you're going to need a hardware and the device driver and the platform, Omniverse, CUDA, RTX, right? All of those platforms to be able to develop that program. To send that transport media, or maybe holoscan for media, which is a transport that goes SMPTE 2110 across wireless networks, and that's all required. That runs on HP hardware. So all of this, the ecosystem is really important to get the new media from the way things are going to be done. We're going to rip out the standard coaxial cables and replace it with network cables. So it's broadcast over IP. That'll be the future for broadcast video. Is broadcast protocols over H.
So, do you have your cell number so we can call you to get
Yeah, absolutely, please. We'll be up on the number.
questions? Okay, questions.
Don't want to be negative, but cybersecurity. There's been major game launches. There's been major game launches that had to be put on hold for a week. There's a thing with South Korea, kind of nearby, and Sony had an interruption there. So I'm just wondering about next level encryption, red teaming, whatever you do to make it a safer environment.
I can
Anybody want to
speak
take
a little bit to
that?
So any wall you build, somebody's going to build. You build a 10-foot wall, somebody's going to build an 11-foot ladder, right? So I think you're always going to have a case where there's a scale between perfectly usable, which is perfectly insecure, and then perfectly secure, and nobody can get to it, right? And there's somewhere that has to be that scale where you can get access, it's still usable, it's fun, it's easy to use, and you're still creative and productive. So there's always going to be intrusions, and I think as it's going to be the education of the people using those systems. We have something called Morpheus, which is an AI tool that does user fingerprinting, so behavioral fingerprinting. So basically, if any anomalies happen, if a user suddenly who's in accounting starts poking around in other places that they never poked in before, those raise alarms to the security staff. So there's ways to combat that, and I think same thing with AI. As we have these, in the near future, I think generative models are not going to be that dangerous, but there are bad actors that will take LLMs and use that to affect social media. And I think in the same way, you're going to have AIs that are going to try to break into networks. You're going to require a good AI to stand at that gate to try and defeat that bad AI. So I think you're going to a whole new industry of people playing this cat and mouse game.
Great.
Thanks. Hi, Andy Stack with Creator Capital, and I'll go positive. So you all have a really interesting perspective across the board, working with many different companies and technologies. So over the next 12 months, what is the most exciting thing? What is one most exciting thing that a product or a technology or a company that is doing something that is not in your company and that you're not working on?
See, that was so easy until the end.
Just stole my rap question. Good. Go ahead.
Kim, you got it?
I don't want to go first.
I'd say,
I see too many NDAs to go first. Oh.
So in the broadest possible terms, because all this reluctance is because that's a tough question to answer honestly and fully disclose if you're in the business we're in. But I'm building a supply chain from script to exhibition of collaborative entities that will incubate and evaluate ideas, and the other end of which is looking for the market for them. Once you connect those two things, there's no stopping you. And I want to go back to security for a second, even though I know it isn't the question. Very important for someone like me. I'm not a computer engineer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a security expert. But I've been burned with security issues. And also, if there's a couple of friends of mine in the back row, if Chris and Jenny are making a movie and they give me a scene they want me to bid, we're going to go through 3 days of shenanigans, signing NDAs, and which state is it tied to. And all of that goes away when you have a secure network. I worked on high-profile films. There was never a leak once we went to the secure network and we were tech-enabled. So that hurdle is leaving.
Yeah, that might change since China's quantum computer science is practical. Say great encryption with the quantum computer.
That's what I like about working with
All right,
Chris. He's always on the next thing.
And we're going to stay positive. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, Chris.
Anybody there? What's the big thing turning you on right now? That's contextual to this conversation. Just came out of my head like that.
Thanks, Chris. It's like a glimpse into the future. I think not everybody sees it yet, but I don't know if you follow Unitree. This is not our company. This is a robot manufacturer. It's hard to imagine you're going to have robots in your house, but many of you probably already have a Roomba. So that's where it starts. Slippery slope. So I think if you're going to ask me what the future is, robots and avatars. Those are both imaginary, like what a robot looks like, but in a 2D way. So these are frontiers where I think we still have a lot to go, and for all sorts of reasons, they're going to accelerate.
All right, I think I figured it out. I'll say a twofold answer to your question, Andy. I'm super excited, not about one particular product, but about all the incredible startups that are starting to see that have really genuine, great ideas. I think that every day it's exciting to see how people are using AI to create something that is really useful and, to the previous point, simplifying processes to reduce the human error, right? And I can think of a dozen of them off the top of my head on specific spaces that are going to make life easier for us in the industry and everywhere else. The other thing I'm also really excited about, we actually have, if you've noticed next door, we're just starting to build a spatial capture rig, and Gaussian splat in that space is getting really exciting. Also, the real capability for us to now be able to stream 3D objects directly into VR headsets and to really enable the true capability of streaming AR content is going to be really, really interesting in the near future. And that, again, from its base is because we're solving these problems with the help of AI.
Jason used to be known as Mr. Nerf, by the way.
I want to change my answer to the Gaussian splats. Yes, I totally agree. Yeah. That is the future. I think there'll be there'll be dynamic Gaussian splats or Nerfs or whatever. Nerfs is so 2022.
But you were the first person that ever talked about that to me, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I'm still amazed that there's new technology that's coming out just around the corner. I think it's going to get bigger and bigger. The dream is, for many people have imagined VR headsets where you're seeing games played in 360 on your coffee table. That's not that far away.
All right, Kimberly.
I feel like we're in an episode of the Jetsons because all the things you dreamed and imagined as kids and you heard would happen is now happening. We have driving cars. We have robots who are going to babysit my 3 children for me. It's amazing. But the excitement in the tech industry right now reminds me of when the cloud came out. And everybody's talking about the cloud. But this is the most technical advancement in the next 10 years. And we all get to be part of it. I mean, we're all part of history, and it's amazing to see what everyone's going to do with it. Some of the stuff I've seen at HP and beyond, and with our customers, it would blow your mind. And it's so next level. It's amazing. And some of it's taking the past and paying homage to the past. Some of it's forward thinking, but all of it is it's going to be such a different type of entertainment. And that's all I can share legally.
Great. There was one more question here before we wrap, and we're going to go on a great tour of the rest of the lab, which you have to see, which Luke is going to take you on. So wasn't there another question here somewhere? Okay, over here. All right, let me do this one and then.
Thank you for mentioning SMPTE. Number one, I'm a part of their technology committee. And then my question is for Scott. Excuse me if I'm going to get her name wrong, Ada, is
yes.
it? Can you, it's world building,
sure,
essentially,
exactly.
Right? It's a real live world building in this environment. Now, walk me through the process. If I'm prompting to Ada and I say, Ada, put me in Brazil, right? And I want to be a part of the most immersive experience, but I also want to be a part of Carnival, but I don't like the color right?
Sure.
Can you change the color? Is Ada able to, is she in a stage of deep learning and she has the neural network to retain the information and then output the same world? And what if I want to change the sky to blue and the ground, my foreground to green? Can she do that, or is the entire frame of the world going to change? Thank you.
I'm a SMT member, by the way, so let's just jump in there. Not yet. And let me say that Ada is just something that kind of we started to play with under the art of the possible. I'm not necessarily sure that it'll ever be a well-developed Verizon product in that space, but as I said earlier, I think it's really important for us to continue to play with the technology so that we can still understand the process, and that's what leads to creating great product from there. But I will say, yes, on the roadmap with my engineers is exactly that. We're continuing to explore how we could change each individual portion of it. Say we create a desert, and you're like, hey, let's get rid of that rock, or let's move it over there. We also hope to kind of build in the capability of using a general, like a Vive controller, or where you might be able just to point at something and move it around, color something. Let's get rid of this. I mean, a lot of this work, none of this work is really revolutionary, right? In the generative AI world of creating, 2.5D environments, a lot of companies are doing that. Where we really started to get excited about it is being able to have the conversation that really helps the creative process. And I think that's something that was unexpected to exactly that, because when I start to try to create an environment and we're going to create something that we're actually going to shoot on, I'll know it when I'll see it, right? But sometimes, me not being an artist myself, there's never been that capability for me to draw what I wanted to create. But having a conversation, brainstorming, for lack of a better word, is really the way that I've always been able to create. And so I think that's where we're going to continue to push it within that space. And then, again, see how we can add additional power to it so that we can create tools that we can bring out onto your sets and so forth.
Let's have a big hand for this amazing panel. And I understand that Jason's giving out tokens, right? Just kidding. GPUs? You have GPUs in your pocket or something? Great. So, and you get a Chevy, and you get a Chevy. So Luke is going to take you guys on a tour, whip you around the lab. We're a little low on food and beverage now. We're wrapping at 7, but we're getting some more. But we'd love for you to see the rest of the space. And then we'll be in contact with you. We're going to send you all a nice note following up on this visit. And if you're interested in exploring innovation with Verizon, there'll be an opportunity there to follow up. And definitely we'll be getting you that code for Infinity, which is IF 2420, I think it was. But definitely check out that event as well. And then do you guys have anything that folks should follow up on? Anything coming up? Inception program. And then also HP, go on there and configure a really powerful workstation to take over the world. All right, let's have a big hand for everybody. All right.